Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our preseason week one updates. We are live with some real NFL action for you Sunday night. Oh, it's so close to the real thing. We got clean shaven. We're all ready for some real NFL action now we can talk about instead of just blabbering about what we think will happen and what we hope will happen and what we think won't happen. Now we can tell you what actually went down and happened. That's right. It was Cam Ward and Travis Hunter's first games of action. And so we'll dive into the Tennessee Tampa Bay game to start things off with, and Cam Ward getting his first NFL action. And so he started off a little rough, but pulled it together on the second drive and drove them down and got a touchdown. Looked solid in his debut. He was able to drill Calvin Ridley with 3 straight completions on that touchdown drive. So some good looks from Cam Ward in that one. On the other side, Emeka Egbuka got his first catch, and then he just missed a one-handed grab in the end zone. That would have been a spectacular catch. Would have even driven him up the boards another round or two. He's flying up the boards right now. Now over to Jacksonville, where Travis Hunter took on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his first action, he played both sides of the ball. 11 snaps on offense, 8 snaps on defense, no tackles over there. He did miss a first down saving tackle on rookie Caleb Johnson. It made him look quite like his old college coach, Deion Sanders, there on that effort, but we didn't draft him. We're not drafting him for his defensive prowess, right? We want to see the offense. He did get 2 grabs for 9 yards over there for the Jaguars. Then we'll dive into the running back battle that is going on in Jacksonville between Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and Bishul Tootin. That's right. We'll dive into those numbers. Tootin ended up with 24 yards. Tank Bigsby, 24 yards. Etienne, not as much action. He did start the game, though. But Tootin was the one that got into the end zone with the offensive line bowling him into the end zone on that one. Next up, though, we've got the other quarterbacks of this rookie draft, and that's Shedeur Sanders. Sanders lit it up, 14 for 23, 2 touchdowns on the day for the Browns, who pulled out a victory. What can I say? Sanders looked good. He got the start, and I have not been his biggest supporter all off season. Joe Flacco, no action, and I think they're grooming him to be the week 1 starter. But the way Shedeur's playing, no action for Dylan Gabriel. We'll see what week 2 brings up. This is only week 1 of preseason, but all things considered, Shedeur definitely looking like he wants to play this season. And finally, of note, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart looked great, playing the most of any of the Giants quarterbacks. He went 12 of 19 for a $154 and a touchdown, a sweet lofting pass into the corner of the end zone. He also picked up a few yards on the ground. So all things considered, all these rookie quarterbacks look pretty solid. At least the ones of note. Tyler Shook, I have to look if he even got into the game. I know Spencer Rattler got the start there in New Orleans for their game against the Chargers. But the top 3 quarterbacks, not the first three drafted, of course, because Shedeur went in the 5th round. All 3 look pretty solid. Now, rolling around the rest of the league quickly, just to give you some quick updates on what went on in the Broncos matchup. RJ Harvey, who was listed fifth string by Sean Payton, of course, to motivate the rookie, well, he got the start. J.K. Dobbins did get a carry or two, but RJ Harvey looked sharp. He spun one to the outside, showing off that speed. So he looked solid. In the Jets-Packers matchup, a little scary for Breece Hall owners. Not an injury, no. But just the way the game flow went, you had Breece Hall starting, then Braylon Allen mixing in there, and then Isaiah Davis coming in on third down. So what does that exactly mean for Breece Hall owners? How much, I mean, if Isaiah Davis is playing on third downs, that's going to limit his receiving upside. So something to watch in the upcoming weeks of preseason. So Breece Hall owners, little tentative there on the that side. Back to the Tampa Titans game, we did have an injury from Tajay Spears. Now that one looked a little ugly at first, but remember, he only has one ACL, so it wasn't an ACL injury. Most likely, this will be a 4 to 6 week high ankle sprain. So a little bump to Tony Pollard there, and then look for Julius Chestnut or Khalil Mullings, the rookie out of Michigan, to take over the backup duties. So they'll have their own little battle going on there. They were already battling it out for third string for the Titans, but now they might get to see the backup duties for the first couple of weeks of real action. Also, Rashad White went down with a groin injury in that one. Sean Tucker came in the second half, looked his old solid self. I've always liked Sean Tucker, but yeah, he scampered for 20 yards down to the one and then punched in a touchdown in the second half in that one. Over to the Rams backfield battle for the backup role behind Kyron Williams. We had Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter both getting a significant amount of touches. Corum did end up banging in 2 touchdowns, though, there. We swing over to the New England game, and Travion Henderson with the fireworks there right off the bat. First touch, 100 yards on a kickoff return, and so he definitely looks like he's ready to play. Now, of note, Ramondre Stevenson did start the game for the Patriots in the backfield. So something to monitor there. Henderson did look solid on the ground, though, as well. Through the air, Kyle Williams, rookie, he looked good getting open. He was wide open for a 5-yard touchdown, but Dobbs didn't see him at all, so didn't get the touchdown there. Efton Chisholm, though. Efton Chisholm the third, yes, out of Eastern Washington, broke Cooper Kupp's receiving record there. He did rack up 50 yards on a bunch of catches and get into the end zone, so definitely a deep sleeper to keep your eye on. If you're in a deep league, go ahead and scoop him up if you can dump somebody on the bottom of your roster, because, man, I'm telling you, if Wes Welker and Julian Edelman had a baby, it would be Efton Chisholm. And now Josh McDaniels is running the show again, so I don't know. Efton Chisholm could be the guy, the diamond in the rough there. Then we roll on back to Thursday night and the wonderful battle for the Colts quarterback position. Colts quarterback 1 is yet to be decided. Anthony Richardson got the start this week. It was planned that Daniel Jones would come in, and then Daniel Jones would get the start in week 2 of the preseason. But I don't know how much A-Rich is going to be able to play next week. He bent his he bent his pinky finger on his throwing hand the wrong way. We'll just put it that way. So one thing to monitor there for sure is the injuries. Now, Daniel Jones didn't play like he wanted to win the job. He went 10 for 21 and was just gross. So who knows? Maybe Riley Leonard deserves to start, actually. And then something else to note from that Jets-Packers matchup, Jaden Reed was spotted wearing a walking boot, so his status for week 1 is definitely up in the air. And then finally, I wanted to mention, I know I already mentioned Efton Chisholm, but another dude, deep down, Cam Miller for the Las Vegas Raiders. He would have led them to a game-winning drive, but the kicker missed the field goal, of course. But Cam Miller, 6th rounder, somehow the Raiders now know something about 6th-round quarterbacks, maybe because of their partial owner. But Cam Miller out of one of the Dakota schools, I'm not sure which one, but he looked fantastic. So keep your eye out for Cam Miller. I don't know that AOC or whoever else they've got back there with the Raiders is going to be able to keep him away from getting the backup role for Geno Smith. So there you have it, a quick rundown of some of the highlights from week 1. If you're out there in the chat and have any questions, go ahead and fire them over to me. I know that we've got some redrafts coming up for a bunch of you, as well as myself. And so that's definitely on the radar. How does this all what are the implications for Dynasty? Well, let's circle back to the Jacksonville Jaguars and their running back battle. So, as I mentioned, Travis Etienne got the start, right? So that's not too shocking, but the key is that then Tank Bigsby played second, and then Bashul Tutin came in the second half. Now Tutin looked good. I watched a whole replay of all of his snaps. Looked good in pass pro. That was one of his main questions as to whether he would get significant playing time this year or not. Was pass pro. He did fine. Didn't allow a sack. He did get a couple of catches as well out of the backfield, and as I mentioned earlier, he slammed his way into the end zone. He had his lineman drag him in. It was a 8-yard touchdown run. They dragged him the last 3 yards. But regardless, it still would count for your fantasy team had this been real football. Now, it was just preseason. But the pecking order is definitely set as of now that it goes Etienne, Tank, and Tutin. So we'll see going into week 2 who gets the action, whether they decide to rest Etienne or they play all 3 of them again as another tryout. We'll see. It'll be an interesting battle there, all preseason as to who ends up winning that job. My guess is that Etienne will get the start week 1, and Tutin will have to earn his way in, much like Bucky Irving did, as that we all know that's what the comparison has been all off season since Tutin was drafted by the Jaguars. Because of course Liam Cohen helped draft Bucky Irving, and then Bucky Irving unsat Rachaad White as the top running back in Tampa. But yeah, interesting there. Now I want to roll over to the Denver Broncos, and let me bring up the rookie RJ Harvey here. So Harvey was listed as 5th on the depth chart for the Broncos, and it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, we all knew that he was going to be one of the top two backs there. It was going to be Dobbins or him starting, and then they have Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin in the mix. Tyler Beatty is also there, so it's kind of a crowded backfield. But the top two guys definitely are Harvey and let me go over. Definitely Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. Now, let me just take a deeper look at the stats from that one. To give you some real numbers here. Where is that Broncos game? Who the heck did they play? Now I can't find it. There they are. Yeah, they smoked the Niners 30-9. Okay. Now, I mean, Mac Jones started for the Niners, so again, it's preseason, of course. Here we are. Okay, so R.J. Harvey, 7 for 25 on the ground with a long run of 11 yards. That was the one that he bounced to the outside and showed that speed as he turned the corner around like 3 49ers linebackers. So he looked great on that one. J.K. Dobbins was in. I think he got one catch for 4 yards. Same for Harvey. So it's still going to be a battle this offseason. I wouldn't be shocked if Dobbins starts week 1. I mean, that's nothing to be all that alarmed about. They're going to work Harvey in, I think. I mean, there's a reason they brought in somebody like Dobbins. They want to share the load. And so with that in mind, I wouldn't be too alarmed with the amount of touches or lack thereof that Dobbins gets this offseason. I'm sure they want him healthy for week 1. He's been prone to injury, and the way the NFL works, if both of them are healthy all season, this is a good Broncos team, okay? They should get they are definitely a team that should finish top 15, if not top 10. And if they are a top 10 offense, you could see a lot of red zone opportunities. It'll come down to how much of those red zone opportunities R.J. Harvey actually gets. He's probably going to get the majority of the receptions out of the backfield there. Jaleel McLaughlin's a decent running back receiving-wise as well, but I wouldn't be too worried about him. I mean, they wouldn't have drafted R.J. Harvey in the second round if they were set with Jaleel McLaughlin, right? So Sean Payton, this is his guy. He wanted him. They drafted him earlier than most thought that he should be going. And so I'm not too worried, all right? I think R.J. Harvey is a solid pick now. He moves up most boards with the Quinshon Judkins situation. And so Harvey right now sitting pretty easily, at least as the 4th best rookie running back in this class, if not the 3rd, behind Genty and Hampton. Then you have Harvey and Caleb Johnson still kind of battling it out as to who you want to pick. It's really choose your flavor. I mean, like if it's a full PPR league, I could understand taking Harvey over Caleb Johnson, but for me right now, I'm liking Caleb just because I know he's getting that work. He's taking over the Najee Harris role for the Steelers. That means 250 touches, right? Probably 225 carries and 25 targets. That's somewhere around there, all right? Jaylen Warren's still going to get basically the same workload that he's had the last couple of seasons. So there you have it with that backfield's breakdown. Moving on to another interesting scenario, and I heard about this while I was watching another podcast this morning. So let me bring up I'm just going to bring up the numbers for you to show you, because it is it was pretty surprising to me, but it's definitely something to watch. And this pertains to Breece Hall, um, because we all want Breece Hall to be, you know, the big bell cow getting 1,500 plus total yards and 10 plus touchdowns. But if the touches aren't there, like, I don't know how it's going to happen for him. So if we bring up the screen here for you guys. There we have it. Jets, Packers. Jets won this one going away, 30-10. Jordan Love looked pretty bad in his one drive. Now, granted, it was one drive, but anyway, here we go. So Breece Hall did get the start. 3 carries for 9 yards with a long of 4. Did not have a target. Braylon Allen, though, 8 carries for 33 yards. Now, obviously, he's the backup, so I can understand him having more carries in this game. But then the key here is Isaiah Davis, who was playing on third downs. He was the one running in. He got 6 carries for 14 yards, and he also had a catch for 11 yards. And so that's the scenario, because we're all going to have that choice on Breece Hall. Is he someone that we should be taking in our drafts in rounds, 3 or 4-ish of our redraft? And then if you've got him in Dynasty, this is also something obviously you want to monitor. But, there's only going to be so many pass attempts in this Jets offense, and Garrett Wilson's going to be getting 30+% of those. And then a lot of people jokingly have, not necessarily jokingly, but seriously, have Breece Hall as the number 2 target there for the Jets. And, I mean, we all kind of know about Mason Taylor and how great he looked in college, in the Combine, Senior Bowl, blah, blah, blah. And then they took him in the second round. So Mason Taylor definitely has an opportunity. He sat this one out with an injury, but he'll be fine. So no need to worry about that as far as once the real season starts for Mason Taylor. But back to Breece Hall, and how low do you want to drop him? Like, in my dynasty rankings right now, I have him mixed in to tier 3, right behind Jonathan Taylor, and I have him just ahead of Bucky Irving and Travion Henderson in that tier 3. But it's hard for me to keep him ahead of Bucky Irving and Travion Henderson when you don't know. Like, just look at the offenses, okay? Now, the New England offense wasn't great last year, but Tampa's offense was, and they should have not much of a change there as far as success. And so if they're a top 5 or at least top 10 offense, it's going to mean more opportunities for Bucky Irving. So I'm going to have a hard time not moving Bucky ahead of Breece Hall. Now, Travion Henderson, of course, he's a few years younger. Not that Breece Hall is some old man, but Travion is really just battling Ramondre Stevenson for touches, and it looks to me kind of like they're just going to split drives. Like Ramondre will take one drive, Travion the other drive. Ramondre one, Travion the other, and then as it gets into the second half, they'll go with the hot hand, right? That's not what it's looking like in New York. New York could get pretty ugly for Breece Hall. Like, does he get to 1,000 yards rushing? And then how much receiving action does he actually get? Again, I know like Justin Fields likes to dump it off to the running backs, but if Isaiah Davis is leading this team in receptions out of the backfield, well, where does that leave Breece Hall? So, there's a lot of receivers you can take around that range in round 3 and 4 that I like. And, if you go running back in the first round, I don't know if Brees Hall is somebody I really want to be jumping on, or I just don't see the upside. Put it that way. It really limits Brees Hall's ceiling, and when you're drafting Brees Hall, especially in the third round, like you're hoping that he outperforms his ADP, right? You're not just taking him in the third round to be some plotter that just okay, he's my RB2 and I hope he does all right. Or if you draft, say, 2 wide receivers in the first 2 rounds, then you take Brees Hall and he's your top running back. Like you need some upside there. This really limits his upside. So I'm kind of concerned about Brees Hall and his outlook right now. So I'm going to be fading him in any upcoming mocks or drafts that I do. Next that I wanted to discuss was the Rams backfield there. Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter, the new rookie from the Auburn Tigers, going out there to LA to battle it out with Blake Corum to be Kyron Williams' backup in that lucrative role out in LA. And let's bring up the numbers for you. They both got a lot of action. The Rams taking on the Cowboys. I don't know if you saw it. CeeDee Lamb just got drilled on the sideline by a referee. He was celebrating a teammate, Jonathan Mingo, drawing a pass interference call, and he wasn't looking, stepped out onto the white on the sideline, and then ref just drilled him. And I laugh now because CeeDee's okay. No, don't need to worry if you own CeeDee in any league. But anyway, back to the Rams in their backfield. There you can see Jarquez Hunter getting 11 carries for 41 yards. 11 yards was his long. And Blake Corum 9 for 32 with 2 touchdowns there. So the key there was the 2 touchdowns, I think. So for me, I'm still looking at it like Blake Corum is looking like the number 2 for now. But this is definitely a situation that needs to be monitored because either of these guys are very lucrative handcuffs. And the way Sean McVay likes to run things, I don't think, if Kyron Williams goes down, I don't think that they're going to be splitting work between these two. I think one or the other is going to get the majority of the work. That's just the way McVay likes to run things. And so this is definitely one of the key battles this offseason to be monitoring. Now, while I got this up, you can look over the battle for the Cowboys running back position, which honestly, I'm just kind of trying to avoid unless I'm taking Miles Sanders with a super late pick because he's like the cheapest. But I don't buy into the Jaden Blue hype because I don't see him as a 3-down back. Javonte Williams just, couldn't cut it in Denver as the 3-down back. So really, Miles Sanders with like your last pick in a redraft, he's the only one that I'm looking at taking it all here. Now, Phil Maffa was the one that got the most carries here. Malik Davis looked the best with 7 for 61, but 7 for 63. So we didn't really get any further there, figuring out who the Cowboys running back's going to be this year. So right now, I think you still have Javonte Williams as the top dog. Jaden Blue, I don't know. Miles Sanders has looked really good in preseason, but then he got banged up this week. So I don't know. I guess I'm still taking personally, if I'm getting any of them, it's going to be Miles Sanders with like my last or second to last pick. Before I get over to Shedeur Sanders, I want to bring up Jackson Dart and his performance. Once again, for the Giants. Giants took on the Buffalo Bills, and so again, Jackson Dart played the most. We know the Giants have a bunch of quarterbacks there: Russell Wilson, uh, Jameis Winston, and then Tommy DeVito is still there in the building. But Jackson Dart, here you go. 12 for 19, buck 54, touchdown, no interceptions. Also ran for 24 yards with a 19-yard scamper, showing off the wheels that made him an enticing pick for us. This is promising for Jackson Dart and for Brian Daboll, to be honest. Like, Daboll's job is riding on Jackson Dart. Okay? It's not. We know Russell Wilson isn't going to lead the Giants to an Eastern Division championship this year. Okay, and they start off with one of the tougher schedules in the league, and so we could be seeing Jackson Dart as early as like week 4 or 5, seriously. And so to see him perform well right now is good for your Dart owners as well as the Malik Neighbors owners out there. So I think that if any of you were scared off of taking Neighbors in the first round because Russell Wilson's the quarterback and you don't know who the guy is, I don't think it matters. Honestly, I really don't. Because whether it's Dart or Russell Wilson or one of them gets hurt and Jameis Winston comes in to throw the ball around the yard, I mean, they're going to be slinging it, and Malik Neighbors, while healthy, is going to get his healthy share of targets. So I think that's the biggest take from this weekend in the Giants game, is that Jackson Dart's looking good. I think he can do it, and I wouldn't be scared off of it if you're eyeing up Malik Neighbors in the first round of a redraft. Tyron Tracy got the start. Cam Scattaboo sat this one out with a nagging injury, and so it looks like Tracy's going to be the starter as of now. All word out of there is showing that to be the case, and so let's pump the brakes a little on the Cam Scattaboo bandwagons, but he's still fun, right? Scattaboo. I mean, he's going to get his turn. He's going to get his opportunity, definitely. All right. Then we'll finish it off talking a little about Shedeur. So, Shedeur is somebody who I admittedly faded hard in the offseason. All you had to do is be watching the NFL draft to understand kind of why. I mean, not only did he get taken in the 5th round, but the whole Browns draft room was like not happy about the pick. Like, they, normally when a pick's made, they're up giving high fives and everything, and that was not the case when Shedeur Sanders was picked. Like, you could tell, like, the look on their faces was just like, yeah, we just did that. We know what we just did. We just brought the circus to town. Yeah. And so this kind of performance was very enlightening for the Cleveland franchise, I think. Shedeur Sanders could bring excitement to this franchise. He could turn this franchise around. So I'm a little more optimistic when it comes to Shedeur. Very similar to what's going on with the Giants, where you have a real old veteran quarterback who's not really expected to lead the team to the playoffs, right? Joe Flacco, he can still sling it around, don't get me wrong, so it's good for the Cleveland receiving core, especially Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku, if Flacco is in there, at least for the first few weeks. But they're in probably what I consider the toughest division in the NFL, with Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. Like, Cleveland's picked fourth by just about everybody in that division. And so, if Sanders looks good in the preseason and Flacco gets them off to a 1-3 or 0-4 start, what if Sanders looked good in the preseason? What is stopping them from just bringing him in, right? Like, he is a lot of talk. Don't get me wrong, but if he is actually showing it on the field now, I know it's preseason and there's some second stringers out there and everything, but you can't deny the guy has confidence, okay? And so this is something with the whole Deshaun Watson shit show, and now the Quinshon Judkins drama going on. This couldn't be a better thing. There couldn't be a better thing, really, than a franchise quarterback showing up sort of out of nowhere, being that they got him in the 5th round and were not expecting to take him after they took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd. So this is pretty exciting stuff for the Cleveland Browns and their fans, actually. And so that's all I really wanted to touch on today. We really didn't learn anything out of Indianapolis and their quarterback situation because A-Rich got hurt and Daniel Jones looked like garbage. So nobody wants a job there. Like I said, maybe Riley Leonard will end up with it. But anyway, that's just about all I've got for you today. We're going to have some redraft mock drafts coming up this week for you. Maybe Matt English will finally sling into the house and we'll get our Dynasty Trade Show out. We've got almost 2 weeks of trades piled up for you to see and hear our analysis. It should be a fun time. So I want to thank you for joining this evening. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe, help the algorithm out a little, and get us some support. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers here as quickly as possible. That would be awesome. So if you can, smash that like. Oh, before I get out of here, Colin stepped in to say Bengals who they. Yeah. Did the Bengals even win this week, Colin? Does it really even matter? No, they lost to the Eagles. Yes. But at least Joe Burrow got out there. I will say, I wanted to note that. Joe Burrow did get out onto the field for once in preseason, and that's a good thing, I think. They lit it up. I mean, Burrow to Chase was looking in midseason form. And that's what the Bengals needed to try, because they've started out notoriously terrible. So, good news for Cincinnati fans, I think. All right, smash that like and subscribe. Thank you for joining tonight. Look forward to more episodes of the Birdhouse Dynasty Show coming up this week. And remember, never stop working.